Ambassador David Chen's shuttle docked with the Corvette throne ship Eternal Dominion, and he tried not to let his nerves show. The diplomatic briefings had prepared him intellectually for this mission, but nothing could truly prepare a person for walking into the domain of a species that had conquered a dozen worlds in the last century alone. "Remember," his aide whispered as they waited for the airlock to cycle, "Queen Valara has agreed to these negotiations. That's already a victory." "Agreed after we demonstrated enough military capability to make conquest costly," David reminded him. "Not the same as wanting peace. Still, you're here, that's what matters." The airlock opened and David stepped into the Corvette ship. The first thing that struck him was the scale. Everything was larger than human proportions, the corridors wider, the ceilings higher, designed for beings significantly taller than humans. The aesthetic was sharp angles and dark metal, punctuated by bioluminescent lighting that cast everything in cold blue. Corvette guards lined their path, 8 feet tall, armored, carrying weapons that could vaporize a human with a single shot. Their faces were hidden behind helmets, making them seem less like individuals and more like an extension of the ship itself. "Ambassador Chen," a voice called in accented but clear standard. A Corvette official approached, distinguished from the guards by more elaborate armor and the absence of weapons. "I am Diplomatic Coordinator Vern. I will escort you to your quarters. Her Majesty will receive you tomorrow." "Thank you, Coordinator. We're grateful for your hospitality." Vern's expression didn't change. David was still learning to read Corvette faces, but there was a pause that suggested surprise at the thanks. "Follow me." They moved through the massive ship, David noting everything. Defensive positions, technology levels, the way crew members moved with military precision. This was a warship repurposed for diplomacy, and that said something about Corvette priorities. His quarters were surprisingly comfortable, adjusted for human physiology. Someone had done research. "Her Majesty has made your comfort a priority," Vern explained. "She wishes these negotiations to proceed efficiently. Please convey our appreciation." Another pause. "I will rest well, Ambassador. Tomorrow you meet the Queen." After Vern left, David stood in the center of his quarters, processing. The Corvette were nothing like he'd expected. Professional, certainly. Intimidating, absolutely. But there was curiosity, too, in the way the guards had studied him, in Vern's reactions to simple courtesy. Maybe there was room for understanding after all. The next day, David was escorted to the formal audience chamber. The room was massive, designed to intimidate, with the Queen's throne elevated on a platform that required looking up to address her. And there she was, Queen Valara of the Corvette Empire. David's briefings had included images, but they hadn't captured her presence. She was tall even for Corvette, easily 8 feet, and her obsidian skin gleamed in the chamber's cold light. Golden patterns traced her face and bare arms, marks of royal achievement. Her eyes were solid gold, brilliant and piercing. She wore armor, ceremonial but functional, and sat on her throne with the ease of someone born to power. When her gaze fixed on David, he felt it like a physical weight. "Ambassador Chen." Her voice resonated with harmonic undertones that added layers of meaning he couldn't quite grasp. "You represent the United Earth Coalition in these peace negotiations." "I do, Your Majesty." David bowed respectfully. "Thank you for agreeing to these talks. I have agreed to nothing except conversation. Whether peace results depends entirely on what your coalition offers." She rose from her throne, descending the steps with predatory grace. "You are smaller than expected." "So I've been told." "Your species is small, short-lived, physically unremarkable." She circled him, studying. "Yet you've resisted our expansion. Explain this." "We're persistent, Your Majesty, and we value our survival enough to fight for it." "Survival through resistance, admirable in its way." She stopped before him, "but resistance cannot last forever." "Perhaps not, which is why we prefer peace to endless war. Peace benefits the weak." Peace benefits everyone who wants their people to thrive rather than merely survive. Surely the Corvith Empire wants more than eternal conflict. Her golden eyes narrowed. You presume to know what we want. I presume nothing, I ask. Asking another human trait, you question everything. How else do we learn? She studied him for a long moment, something unreadable in her expression. Then she returned to her throne. We will negotiate. I am curious what terms you propose, but know this, Ambassador, I am not easily swayed. Your words must carry weight. I hope they will, Your Majesty. We shall see. First session tomorrow. You are dismissed. David bowed again and left, feeling her gaze following him until the doors closed. That night, sleep evaded him. The Queen's presence had been overwhelming, intelligence and power radiating from her like heat. But there had been something else too, something beneath the cold authority. Curiosity, interest. He'd need to understand her better to negotiate effectively, and he'd need to be very careful. Queens with that much power could crush him without effort. But something told him that Queen Valara was more complex than she appeared. And complexity, in David's experience, was where opportunities for peace lived. The first formal negotiation session was brutal. Valara opened with demands that would have essentially made Earth a subject territory. David countered with proposals for equal partnership that she dismissed as naive. They sparred verbally for hours, neither giving ground. You offer nothing of value, Valara said finally, her patience clearly wearing thin. Why should the Corvith accept terms that do not reflect our superior position? Because superior position is temporary. Today you're strong. Tomorrow another threat emerges while you're extended fighting us. The syndicate grows. The collective expands. Do you fight every front simultaneously? We have fought multiple fronts before. At what cost? How many Corvith died? How many resources depleted? David leaned forward. Your Majesty, I'm not asking you to accept weakness. I'm asking you to consider strategy. Peace with us frees you to address other threats. Trade with us enriches both economies. Alliance with us creates stability for expansion into truly empty territories. You speak of strategy. I speak of reality. War with Earth is costly. Peace with Earth is profitable. That's not about superiority. It's about practicality. Valara was quiet for a long moment, her advisors shifting uncomfortably at her silence. We will recess, she announced. I will consider your perspective, Ambassador. Resume tomorrow. As David returned to his quarters, he felt a mix of exhaustion and hope. She hadn't accepted anything, but she hadn't rejected it outright either. She was thinking. That was progress. Late that evening, as David reviewed notes in the observation deck, the door opened. Valara entered alone. Your Majesty, David stood quickly. Peace, Ambassador, I come without ceremony. She moved to the viewport, gazing at the stars. I find myself here often. The vastness helps me think. What are you thinking about? She was quiet for so long he thought she wouldn't answer. You challenged my assumptions today about strength, about strategy. It was unexpected. Unexpected that a human could challenge you. Unexpected that anyone would. My advisors agree with everything I say. They fear disagreement. That seems counterproductive to good decision-making. It is, but it is what power creates. She turned to look at him. You do not fear me. I respect you. I'm cautious around you, but fear you, no. Why not? I could destroy you with a thought. You could, but you haven't. And I don't believe you invited me to negotiate just to destroy me. He moved to stand closer to the viewport, watching the stars with her. I think you're curious about us, about humans, about me. You are perceptive. It's required in my profession. Yes, diplomacy requires understanding others. She was quiet again. Ambassador, David, may I use your given name? Please do. David, why did you become a diplomat? You could have chosen safer professions. He considered the question carefully. I believe in connection, in bridging gaps between different peoples. Too much conflict comes from misunderstanding or fear. If I can help reduce that, I've done something worthwhile. Idealistic. Probably. Among my people, idealism is weakness. Among my people, it's hope. She turned to face him fully, her golden eyes intense. Hope. Such a human concept. Do Corvith not hope? We strategize, we conquer. We achieve through strength, not hope. And when strength alone isn't enough. The question hung in the air between them. You ask dangerous questions, David Chen. Dangerous because they have no answers, or dangerous because the answers are uncomfortable. She almost smiled, just a flicker quickly gone. Both, perhaps. Then maybe we should explore them together, in the interest of negotiations. In the interest of negotiations, she repeated, something new in her voice. Yes, that seems wise. They stood together in silence for a while, watching stars wheel past the viewport. Eventually, Valera spoke again. Tomorrow, bring me new proposals. Challenge my assumptions again. I find I appreciate your perspective. I will, Your Majesty, Valera. Her name in his mouth felt significant. Her golden eyes met his. Good night, David. Good night, Valera. She left, and David stood alone with the stars and the growing realization that something beyond diplomacy was developing between them. Something complicated, something potentially wonderful, something absolutely dangerous. But as he returned to his quarters, he found he couldn't regret it. The Queen of the Corvith Empire was opening up to him, and he was responding in ways that transcended ambassadorial duty. Whatever came next, nothing would be simple, but the best things rarely were. The days blended into weeks as negotiations continued. Progress was slow but steady. Each session saw small concessions from both sides, the framework of a treaty gradually taking shape. But for David, the formal sessions had become almost secondary to his evening meetings with Valera. She began inviting him to her private dining chamber regularly, ostensibly for informal discussion of treaty points, but their conversations ranged far beyond politics. Tell me of human childhood, she requested one evening over a meal. Her curiosity was genuine, almost hungry. It's a time of learning and play, David explained. We're taught by parents and schools. We develop friendships, discover interests, make mistakes in safe environments. Safe environments for mistakes, interesting concept. She sipped her drink thoughtfully. Corvith young are trained from emergence. Combat, strategy, discipline. Mistakes are corrected harshly to prevent their repetition. That sounds difficult. It is effective, we become strong. But happy? The question seemed to startle her. Happiness is not a priority. What is? Survival, strength, service to the empire. Those are valuable, but don't you ever want more? She was quiet for a long time. What I want has never been relevant. What is required of me is all that matters. Valera, what you want should matter to someone. Her golden eyes met his, something vulnerable flickering there before she masked it. You are strange, David Chen. You speak of wants and hopes as if they are practical concerns. They are, to humans at least. Perhaps that is why your species interests me so. Or perhaps you're tired of only being interested in practical concerns. She set down her drink carefully. You presume to understand me. I presume nothing. I observe, and I see someone who's been told their entire life that feelings don't matter, but who clearly feels deeply anyway. You think I feel deeply. I think you feel everything deeply. I think you've just been trained to hide it so thoroughly that even you forget it's there sometimes. Her gaze held his for a long moment. You see things others miss. Or I see things others are too afraid to acknowledge. My advisors would never speak to me as you do. Your advisors aren't your friends. I do not have friends. You could. Could I? The question hung between them, loaded with meaning. David reached across the table, touching her hand gently. Her skin was cool, smooth, almost metallic. She didn't pull away. You could have whatever you wanted, Valera. Your queen. Who could stop you? Tradition, expectation. The weight of empire. Those are heavy burdens to carry alone. I have always carried them alone. Maybe that should change. Their eyes locked, And in that, as David returned to his quarters that night, he found himself replaying their conversation. The way she'd looked at him when he'd touched her hand, the vulnerability beneath her composure, the loneliness that seemed to permeate everything about her existence. He was developing feelings for her. Impossible, complicated feelings for an alien queen who ruled an empire built on conquest. But feelings didn't care about impossibility. And David was beginning to realize that his feelings for Valara were very real indeed. The turning point came during a particularly difficult negotiation session. They'd been debating territorial boundaries for hours, neither side willing to concede. The Viro's system must remain Corvith, one of Valara's advisors insisted. It holds strategic importance. The Viro's system is populated by neutral species who have requested coalition protection, David countered, claiming it violates the very principles we're negotiating. Principles do not win wars. No, but they build lasting peace. The argument grew heated, voices rising. David felt his patience fraying. Enough! Valara's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. Everyone fell silent. Coordinator Vern, what is the strategic value of Viros? Mineral resources, Your Majesty, and positioning for potential expansion toward more conflict, David interrupted. More conquest, more war. Is that what this treaty is about? Positioning for the next conflict while pretending to make peace? The room went deadly quiet. Challenging the Queen's advisor in front of her was borderline treasonous. But Valara's golden eyes fixed on David with something that looked like approval. Ambassador Chen makes a valid point, she said slowly. If this treaty is merely a pause between wars, it serves neither of us. We must decide what we truly want from this agreement. Your Majesty, Vern protested, we cannot simply abandon strategic assets. We can abandon whatever I decree we abandon. Her voice carried steel. This session is ended. We resume tomorrow. I wish to speak with Ambassador Chen privately. The advisors exchanged alarmed glances but filed out obediently. Soon only Valara and David remained. That was bold, she said when they were alone. Challenging my advisor. That was necessary. We were talking in circles. You risked much. Some things are worth the risk. She rose from her formal position, moving closer to where he stood. What things? Truth, real progress. Understanding. Understanding. She stopped before him. David, what do you understand about me? That you're tired, lonely. That being queen is isolating in ways no one acknowledges. That you're brilliant and capable but have no one to share those qualities with. That you want connection but have been taught its weakness. Her eyes widened. You see all that. I see you, Valara, not the queen, not the conqueror, you. No one sees me. I do. They stood close, the air between them electric with unspoken feelings. David. Her voice was soft, uncertain, so unlike her usual commanding tone. What is happening between us? I don't know. Something I didn't expect. Something I probably shouldn't encourage. But do you want to? Want to what? Encourage it. His heart pounded. Yes, despite all the reasons I shouldn't, yes. Her hand reached out, fingers touching his cheek gently. Her touch was cool but sent warmth through him. I feel things when I am with you, she whispered. Things I was taught to suppress, things that frighten me. What kind of things? Connection, caring, the desire to be near you, the fear of your eventual departure. She withdrew her hand. These feelings are unwelcome. Are they? Or are they unwelcome because you were told they should be? You challenge everything I know. Maybe everything you know needs challenging. She turned away, moving to the window. If anyone knew of these feelings, of this, whatever this is between us, they'd what? Remove you. You're queen through conquest. No one can remove you. They could call me compromised, weak, unfit. Would loving someone make you weak? She spun to face him. Love, you speak of love. David took a breath, in for a penny. I'm falling in love with you, Valara, that's what this is. I've tried to deny it, rationalize it, explain it away. But the truth is, You're the most remarkable person I've ever met, and I'm falling for you." She stared at him, and he saw fear and hope warring in her expression. "Humans fall in love easily." "No, we don't, not like this." "This is impossible." "Probably, but that doesn't make it less real." She was quiet for a long moment, conflict clear on her features. "I must think," she said finally. "This is too much too fast." "Of course I shouldn't have." "No," she cut him off. "You should have, you were honest, that is, valuable, but I need time to understand what I feel, what this means." "Take whatever time you need." "Thank you, David." She moved toward the door but paused. "And David." "Yes. Whatever else happens, thank you for seeing me, for trying to understand. No one has done that before." She left, and David stood alone in the negotiation chamber, heart racing. He'd confessed his feelings to an alien queen. She hadn't rejected him. She hadn't accepted him either. But she'd acknowledged feeling something too. That was either the beginning of something extraordinary or the most complicated diplomatic incident in human history. Possibly both. The days following David's confession were torturous. Valara maintained professional composure during negotiations, which were making excellent progress, ironically, but she didn't summon him for private conversations. The absence of their evening meetings felt like a physical ache. David threw himself into work, finalizing treaty provisions with her advisors, but his mind constantly wandered to her. Had he ruined everything? Had his confession been too presumptuous? Had he misread her signals entirely? On the fifth evening of silence, a knock came at his quarters door. He opened it to find one of Valara's personal guards. "Her Majesty requests your presence in her private observation chamber. Immediately." David's heart hammered. Of course. The walk felt eternal. When he arrived, the guard stationed himself outside, and David entered alone. Valara stood at the viewport, her back to him. She wore simple clothing rather than armor, the private Valara rather than the public queen. "Close the door," she said without turning. He did, the seal creating a silence that felt heavy with anticipation. "You've been avoiding me," David said finally. "I've been thinking." She turned to face him, and he was struck by how tired she looked, beautiful but exhausted. "You said you were falling in love with me." "I did. I asked my archives about human love. The concept is foreign to how I was raised, devotion without expectation of return, caring for another's well-being more than your own, choosing vulnerability over self-protection. That's part of it. It sounds like weakness. To you maybe, to us it's strength of a different kind." She moved closer, her golden eyes intense. "I have analyzed my feelings, David. I have examined them from every angle, tried to understand them, attempted to dismiss them as irrelevant. And I cannot dismiss them. They persist despite logic. When you are near, I feel lighter. When you speak, I want to listen. When you challenge me, I feel alive in ways I haven't before. When I imagine you leaving, something in my chest constricts painfully. Valara, I believe I love you, David Chen. Against all reason, against all expectation, against everything I was taught about strength and propriety. I love you." The words hit him like a wave. She loved him. "But," she continued, her expression growing troubled, "I do not know what to do with this love. Among my people, unions serve political purposes. They strengthen alliances, consolidate power, produce heirs. Love does not factor." "It could. Could it?" She stepped closer still, close enough that he could feel the coolness radiating from her skin. "What must I do to marry you, human? What are your customs, your requirements? What must I prove to be worthy of you?" The question stunned him. Marriage? She was thinking of marriage. "Valara, you don't need to prove anything." "I do. Your culture is different. You choose partners for love, for compatibility, for what you call connection. Tell me how to be worthy of such a bond. Tell me what I must become." "You don't need to become anything. You already are." "And what?" "A conqueror, a cold ruler, someone who has ordered deaths and conquered worlds. How can that be worthy of your love? You're also someone who questions their conditioning, who shows curiosity and intelligence beyond tactical concerns, who admits to loneliness when it would be easier to deny it, who's brave enough to confess feelings despite fearing them. He took her hands, her long, cool fingers wrapping around his. "Valara, I don't love you despite who you are. I love you because of who you are. All of it, the strength and the vulnerability, the power and the uncertainty. You truly believe this? With everything I am. Then you would accept me, as partner, despite all complications." "Yes, if you want me." "Want you?" She almost laughed. "I want you more than I have wanted anything that was not conquest or power. I want you in ways that terrify me because they require vulnerability I was taught to reject." "Then have me, I'm here, I'm choosing you." "You would choose me." "I choose you, Valara, I love you. I want to build something with you, a bridge between our peoples, a partnership that transcends political alliance. I want you." She stared at him, her golden eyes bright with emotion. Then she leaned down, her height made it necessary, and kissed him. The kiss was unlike anything David had experienced. Her lips were cooler than human, but soft. She kissed with intensity and focus the way she did everything. It was thorough, claiming, yet also questioning. When they parted, she pressed her forehead to his. "This is terrifying," she whispered. "The best things often are." "What do we do now?" Now we figure out how to make this work. The treaty, our peoples, all the complications, we face them together." "Together," she tested the word. "I have never had it together before." "You do now." She kissed him again, more gently this time, and David felt his world realigning. He was standing on an alien throneship, in the arms of a queen who ruled an empire, having confessed their love for each other. Impossible, yet entirely, wonderfully real. "The treaty signing is in 3 days, Valara said eventually, though she didn't release him. "It is. After it signs, you are meant to return to Earth." "I was, unless something changes." "Something has changed. What do you propose?" She smiled, a real smile that transformed her entire face. "I propose we announce our union alongside the treaty. Show both our peoples that peace between species can be more than political convenience. That it can be personal, chosen. That's bold. I am queen, bold is expected. And terrifying. Absolutely, but I find I am willing to be terrified with you." She cupped his face with one cool hand. "Stay with me, David. Not as ambassador, but as partner. Help me show both our peoples a different way. You're asking me to change everything about my life." "Yes, to leave Earth, my family, my world behind." "Not behind, we can visit. They can visit here. I am not asking you to abandon your people. I am asking you to bridge our peoples with me." "That's a massive request." "It is too massive." David looked at her. This alien queen who'd conquered worlds but couldn't conquer her own heart. Who was terrified of vulnerability but standing here vulnerable before him. "No," he said, "not too massive, just massive enough to be worthy of us." "Then you'll stay." "I'll stay, I'll be your partner, I'll help you bridge worlds." "My partner," she kissed him again, "my love, my human." "My queen," he responded, "my love, my future." They held each other as stars wheeled past the viewport. Two beings from different worlds choosing to create one future. The complications would be enormous, the opposition would be fierce, the challenges would be constant, but they'd face them together. She'd asked what she must do to marry him. He'd shown her she already had. She'd been herself, she'd been brave. She'd chosen love, and that was more than enough. That was everything. The treaty signing was meant to be the culmination of months of negotiation, the formal end to conflict between the Corvith Empire and the United Earth Coalition. What no one expected was what came after. Queen Valara stood before the assembled dignitaries, Corvith nobility, human officials, representatives from allied species. The treaty documents lay signed before her, the peace officially ratified. "The treaty is complete," she announced, her voice resonant with authority. "But I have another announcement." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. David stood to the side, heart pounding, knowing what came next. Peace between our peoples must be more than words on documents. It must be lived, demonstrated, embodied. Valara's golden eyes found David. Ambassador David Chen has taught me this. Through his patience, his honesty, his willingness to see past differences, he has shown me what true bridge building looks like. The murmurs grew louder. Therefore, Valara continued, I announce my intention to take Ambassador Chen as my formal partner, not for political alliance, not for strategic advantage, but for love, for choice, for the kind of connection humans have shown me is possible between thinking beings. Chaos erupted. Corvith advisors protested loudly. Human officials looked shocked. The noise became overwhelming. Silence. Valara's command cut through the din. Everyone obeyed. This decision is made. Those who object may voice their concerns through proper channels. But know this, I am queen through conquest and right. My choice of partner is mine alone. David stepped forward to stand beside her, feeling the weight of countless stares. Your Majesty, one of her advisors spoke carefully, this is unprecedented. A queen bonding with an alien. What of succession? What of house alliances? I will address those concerns in time, but I will not be dissuaded by concerns about tradition when I am forging new traditions. And you, Ambassador, a human official called out, you support this. I love her, David said simply, and I believe our union represents everything this treaty hopes to achieve. Understanding between species, cooperation over conflict, connection over division. The assembly continued murmuring, but the initial shock was fading into grudging acceptance. Valara was right. As queen, her choice was her own, and no one would directly challenge her. Later in her private chambers, David and Valara collapsed together, emotionally exhausted. That was intense, David said. That was necessary. She rested her head against his shoulder, a gesture of intimacy she was still learning. They needed to see our commitment is real, not some passing fancy. Is it real, I mean? She lifted her head to look at him. You doubt me. I doubt nothing about you. But I know this is fast and the obstacles are enormous. Fast by human standards, perhaps. By mine, I have studied you for months, analyzed compatibility, assessed long-term potential. This is thoroughly considered. He laughed. Leave it to you to make falling in love sound like military strategy. Perhaps it is. The best campaigns require careful planning, understanding of terrain, and commitment to objectives. And what's our objective? To love each other well, to build something that serves both our peoples, to prove that strength and vulnerability can coexist. She touched his face gently. To be happy, David, I want to be happy with you. I want that too. They kissed, sealing promises with touch. The months that followed were challenging, as expected. David formally relocated to the throneship as Valara's consort. His family visited, initially uncertain but gradually warming to Valara's genuine attempts to understand human customs. She's terrifying, David's mother admitted after their first meeting. But she looks at you like you're the most precious thing in the universe. She does. Yes, it's how your father looked at me when we first married. Before all the comfort and familiarity, pure, odd love. David found that reassuring. Valara's court adapted more slowly. Some nobles openly opposed the union, seeing it as weakness. Others recognized the strategic value, a queen with strong ties to human coalition. Most simply observed, waiting to see what this unprecedented relationship would produce. Their wedding combined traditions. Corvith strength-binding rituals merged with human vow exchanges. Valara wore ceremonial armor while David wore human formal dress, adorned with Corvith symbols. With this bond I declare my strength yours, my future intertwined with yours, my life dedicated to our union. Valara spoke the traditional words before adding her own. I love you, David Chen. I choose you not as conquest but as partner, not as possession but as equal. With this promise, I pledge my heart to you, my loyalty to our union, my commitment to our shared future, David responded. I love you, Valera. I choose you not despite your strength but because of it, not for what you rule but for who you are. They kissed as both species watched, history being made in the space between two beings who had chosen each other. That night in their shared quarters they held each other quietly. Are you happy? David asked. I am learning what happiness means, but yes, with you I believe I am happy. That's all I wanted. And you, are you happy, my human? More than I ever imagined possible. Good, she kissed him softly. We have built something remarkable, David, a bridge between worlds embodied in our union. We have and will keep building. Yes, together. Together. Outside their viewport, stars wheeled in eternal dance, Corvith and human space no longer separated by fear, beginning to merge through treaties and love. She had asked what she must do to marry him. The answer had been simple. Be herself,